Hi everyone. In this video we are going to talk about the Elastic Beanstalk service from AWS. So let's take a quick look at what this service is about. So AWS Elastic Beanstalk is a service which lets you deploy your applications to AWS. So basically you just need to upload your code and AWS will take care of the infrastructure the code needs to run. So basically as a developer you don't have to worry about like provisioning the EC2 instance, provisioning the RDS database. So you just need to focus on the code, write your code, and you could just upload it to AWS, and Elastic Beanstalk will take care of like provisioning the virtual machines, installing the environments and all those. So it automatically takes care of provisioning the infrastructure, and it also provides load balancing, auto scaling, monitoring, notifications and all. So you don't have to manually set up all those things, as EBS already takes care of that for you. And one important feature of the same is like all the underlying infrastructure that it provisions, you can access it. Like if there are any EC2 instances or RDS databases or any S3 buckets or your load balancer. So if you want, you can just directly access the same or configure it. So you have full control over that if you want. As of now, like your EBS supports your .NET, Java, Node, Ruby, Python, and Docker. And it can also automatically manage the framework and instance updates for you if you want. So you don't have to manually like go about updating your versions, your framework versions and all. So it can automatically update them for you. And for Elastic Beanstalk, basically you have to create an application, and within that application you can have different environments, and you can have different versions of your application running, and you can easily switch between different versions if you want. And EBS, it has no extra charge. So basically you only pay for whatever infrastructure that it provisions or whatever your application requires. So but there's no extra charge for like using EBS service. So basically like its use case scenario is like when like as a developer you only want to focus on code, you don't need to worry about the EC2 instances or the machines. So in that case you can use this service. You just upload your code and it will automatically provision the infrastructure that it needs. So let's go to the AWS console right now and see how we can create a EBS application. So I'm logged into the AWS console now, and I can find Elastic Beanstalk under all services compute section, or even I can search for it. So now I'm in the Elastic Beanstalk page. So as we can see, like we have applications and environments. So basically your application is a container within which you can have different environments, like you can have one for development, testing, UAT and all those things. So let's click on create application, and now I'm into the create application page. So like I have different options here. I can give my application a name. So suppose let's try to deploy a sample node application. So I'll name it my node app, and I can even tag my applications if I want. I can just give them some key value pair, and here I have to choose the platform that I want to run my code on. So if you see, like we have different options. You have .NET Core running on Linux or Windows Server, you have Go, you have Java, Docker, Node.js, PHP, Python. So for this one I just select Node.js, and if I want, like I can select different platform branch, Node.js 12, 10, or I can select Node.js running on 64-bit. And I can also select the Node.js version I want to run. So I'll leave it as this currently. And then like for application code, like I have an option, like I can just get started by deploying a sample application which AWS provides, or if I want I can also upload my own code. So I can upload it from my local directory, or I can upload it through a public S3 URL also. For this one, let's go with a sample application as of now. And we have different configuration options also. So like if I go to configure more options, So here you can see like I can select whether I want to run this application on a single instance, or I can run it in a high availability manner. So in your high availability you can see I can have around 1 to 4 instances running in different availability zones, and it will also have load balancing and auto scaling by default. And this one I can further customize, so I can say okay, I want to run a load balanced application, what is the minimum and maximum number of instances I want to run on, and whether all these instances should be on demand, or I can combine between different purchase options. So I can have the spot instances as well if I want. And you can also select the instance type, whether it should be T2 micro or T3 large, anything. So you have an option to customize all this. You can have the AMI ID, you can select the availability zones, and here you can also configure auto scaling. So you can configure the metrics based on which the auto scaling should happen. So currently for this one, so I just go with single instance. It is free tier eligible also. And here like you can you have different software options. So you have the version of Node.js, and if you want, like, you can select the proxy server, whether it should be Nginx, Apache, and like you can also mention the command that you want to give for starting your Node.js application. And you can enable S3 log storage, you can enable AWS X-ray also. And then in instances you can also configure the like different volume types that you can have, and you can have different options for security, what type of deployment it should do. So right now, like, I'm running a single instance, not a load balance instance, and if you want you can have a load balancer also configured. You can select the monitoring options, and you can also configure whether the manage updates should be enabled, and if so, then at what time it should do the updates. You can also have notifications configured, and it can also provision database for you. So you can just go edit, and here you can just select the database engine that you want, whether it should be MySQL, SQL Server, or Oracle. So once you are done with selecting this option, so currently I've just gone with a single instance and deploying a sample Node.js application. So what I'll do is I just click on create app. So once you click on create app, you can see it has started deploying the application. So there are a lot of steps it will do. It will create the environment, it will run your instance. So it might take a few minutes for all of it to get configured. So I just pause the video till that time. So my application has now been created. So I'm in the my node app environment, is part of my application. So as you can see, like, it is showing the health as okay, and you also get a URL using which you can access the application. And if you can see, like, there are different steps it performed. It launched an EC2 instance. So if you want to see the more details, like, I can go to the events section, and here you can see, like, when it started creating the environment. It also created an Elastic IP, added an EC2 instance, and then it created the application. So I have a URL also, so I can go to this URL, and you can see my sample application is now running on this URL, and my application is here, and my environment is also created. So if I want, I can just go to the log section, and I can request logs of last 100 lines, and I can download it. And you can see, like, it will show you all the things that are happening in the EC2 instances, so all the logs you can get. And you can also see the health of your application or environment. And here you can get the monitoring details, the CPU utilization, the network in, network out, those things. And if you want, you can also configure alarms. And here you can go and see the configuration. It will show you the configuration of your environment, so the software, and if you want, the instances, the capacity, and all. So if I want, I can just go and modify the same. And here I can see the application versions I have. So currently I've deployed only one application, but suppose I want to deploy a new version of that application. You can just go and upload a fresh code or a updated version, and I can give it a new version labeling as well. And like as we talked about, so here you can see I have an environment created also. So if I want, I can create a new environment also. So it can be a web server, a worker environment. And similarly, I can give an application name or environment name. Similar. And as we talked about, like if I go to the EC2 instance now, so here you can see I have an EC2 instance running within which my Node application is running. So if I want, I have control over this. I can just connect to it or log in inside it if I want. So I have a control over that one as well. Let's go to the EBS page again. So like once you are done with the environment, you can do is you can just delete the application, or you can even restore it from an existing terminated environment. So right now, as we are done with the sample application, we can just go and delete the application. Just type the name and if you see, my environment is now going to get deleted. So it is the environment is now being terminated. So it might take some time, but yeah, all my once it is terminated, all my resources will be terminated as well, and I won't be charged anything. So we just took a look at how easy it is to deploy an application using EBS. Probably in the next lecture, I'll talk about how we can deploy a .NET application to an Elastic Beanstalk using Visual Studio and the AWS Toolkit. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section. Thank you.